Before Hollywood became obsessed with wholesome values and strict rules, the silver screen reveled in stories that pushed every boundary, including the biggest taboo of all, infidelity. In the wild days before the censors clamped down, movies treated extramarital affairs as thrilling, glamorous, and sometimes just part of everyday life. But what happens when the movies we watch make breaking the rules look downright normal? Let's revisit 15 films that made adultery seem almost routine, defying social norms, raising eyebrows, and rewriting what audiences thought was acceptable. Redheaded Woman, 1932. Jean Harlow's performance in Redheaded Woman is a masterclass in cinematic mischief, and perhaps the boldest endorsement of infidelity ever put on screen. Harlow plays Lil Andrews, a secretary whose ambition is matched only by her willingness to cross every social line in her path. From the moment she sets her sights on her married boss, Bill, Lil uses her charm, wit, and relentless determination to get what she wants. The movie doesn't just suggest an affair, it throws propriety out the window as Lil pursues Bill with a mix of laughter and daring. What truly shocked audiences was how the film treated Lil's actions. Instead of punishment or shame, Lil's behavior is rewarded. She climbs the social ladder, wins Bill away from his wife, and continues her streak of conquests. The script, full of sly innuendo and sharp jokes, makes it clear that the filmmakers saw nothing wrong with upending marriage for excitement and social gain. Censors demanded edits, and critics decried the movie's breezy treatment of broken vows. Yet the public loved Harlow's unapologetic attitude. Redheaded Woman is a snapshot of a time when the movies made rebellion look glamorous, treating infidelity not as a sin, but as a shortcut to success. The Divorcee, 1930. The Divorcee remains one of the most powerful and controversial depictions of adultery in classic Hollywood. Norma Shearer's Jerry Martin is a modern woman whose world is shattered when her husband confesses to straying. But instead of suffering in silence, Jerry fights back. Not with tears, but by leveling the playing field. The story doesn't just acknowledge infidelity, it dives into its emotional aftermath, showing a woman who refuses to be shamed for demanding equality. Jerry's decision to break away and make her own choices, even if they're messy, was revolutionary. The film never condemns her, and it questions the double standard that allowed men to stray but expected women to remain faithful. Critics at the time called it scandalous, fearing it would encourage audiences to question traditional values. But Shearer's performance made Jerry's journey feel urgent and real. The Divorcee didn't just normalize adultery, it asked viewers to consider the reasons behind it, and whether forgiveness and new beginnings were always the right answer. The result was a film that felt more honest than anything that had come before, and one that left a lasting mark on Hollywood history. Designed for Living, 1933. Few films embrace unconventional relationships quite like Ernst Lubitsch's Design for Living. Miriam Hopkins, Frederick March, and Gary Cooper star as three friends who find themselves caught in a complicated romantic triangle that the film treats with an air of sophistication and humor rarely seen before or since. From the beginning, Gilda Hopkins is torn between the two men, first falling for Tom, then George, and eventually refusing to choose between them. Instead of condemning her for being unable to settle down, the movie celebrates their arrangement, turning what could be a moral crisis into a joyful comedy of manners. Adultery isn't just hinted at, it's practically the foundation of the trio's relationship. Yet the film avoids tragedy and punishment, focusing instead on the happiness and fulfillment the characters find with each other. Lubitsch's direction is light, witty, and loaded with double meanings, making the film a favorite among audiences eager for something daring and new. Censors, predictably, were appalled, banning the film in several cities and demanding heavy edits for re-release. But Design for Living endures as a bold exploration of love without boundaries, and a reminder that for a brief moment, Hollywood treated infidelity as a path to laughter and liberation. Babyface, 1933. In Babyface, Barbara Stanwyck's Lily Powers redefines ambition, survival, and the art of climbing the corporate ladder by any means necessary. After a lifetime of being told her worth is determined by men, Lily decides to flip the script, forging a path to success by using every opportunity presented to her. regardless of social convention. The film is a tour de force of pre-code audacity. Lily moves from one relationship to the next, with each new affair marking a step up in status and power. Her liaisons with married and influential men are treated not as transgressions, but as shrewd business decisions. What sets Babyface apart is its lack of judgment. Lily is neither punished nor shamed for her actions. Instead, she's portrayed as resilient, smart, and unapologetically self-reliant. The public's response was electric. Many viewers were drawn to Lily's fearlessness and the film's frank acknowledgement that the world is often stacked against women. Censors, of course, tried to rein in the story, forcing cuts and alternate endings. But the uncensored version survives as one of Hollywood's most striking portraits of infidelity as empowerment, painting adultery not as tragedy, but as survival. Trouble in Paradise, 1932. Ernst Lubitsch's Trouble in Paradise is a sparkling comedy of manners, deception, and romance with infidelity at its heart. Herbert Marshall and Miriam Hopkins play a pair of professional thieves who fall for each other while plotting to rob a wealthy widow, Kay Francis. The film's plot is built on lies, disguises, and shifting loyalties, but it's the love triangle that provides its emotional core. Infidelity isn't treated as scandal. It's the natural result of complicated people wanting more than the world thinks they should have. The characters' schemes spill over into their love lives, with each betrayal and double-cross handled with wit and elegance. Rather than suffering for their transgressions, the trio dances through Paris, their lives richer for the risks they take. The film's treatment of romantic entanglements is both sophisticated and surprisingly modern, making Trouble in Paradise a favorite of cinephiles and scandal seekers alike. Censors tried to hide its risque edge, but Lubitsch's touch was too light and his jokes too clever to ever be truly sanitized. The result is a film where infidelity isn't a tragedy or a punchline, but simply part of the adventure. The Cheat, 1931. The Cheat tells the story of Elsa Carlyle, Tallulah Bankhead, a woman who finds herself entangled in a web of forbidden relationships and dangerous debts. When Elsa's gambling leaves her in trouble, she turns to a wealthy friend for help, only to become trapped in a relationship that tests her loyalty to her husband. The movie's power comes from its willingness to show Elsa's moral struggle without easy answers. Her decision to seek help outside her marriage is portrayed with empathy, not condemnation. The film doesn't dwell on guilt. Instead, it explores the reasons why people stray and the emotional cost that comes with it. Audiences in the early 1930s were stunned by the film's frankness. Instead of painting Elsa as a villain, The Cheat invites viewers to understand her desperation and sympathize with her difficult choices. Bankhead's performance is nuanced and raw, making Elsa one of the most complex characters of the era. Censors, predictably, were unsettled by the film's refusal to offer punishment or redemption. But The Cheat endures as an early example of Hollywood's willingness to tackle the messiness of real relationships, treating infidelity not as simple wickedness, but as a human, if complicated, reality. Merrily We Go to Hell, 1932. With a title like Merrily We Go to Hell, you know you're in for something bold. Sylvia Sidney and Frederick March star as a couple whose marriage quickly unravels amid drinking, temptation, and a cavalcade of affairs. What's remarkable is how openly the film deals with marital betrayal, not as a shameful secret, but as a common thread in the characters' lives. Sidney's character, Joan, tries desperately to hold her marriage together despite her husband's infidelities. When she finally decides to take matters into her own hands, the movie refuses to cast her as a victim. Instead, Joan is strong, resourceful, and determined to make her own rules. The film follows both husband and wife as they explore relationships outside their marriage, sometimes for revenge, sometimes out of loneliness. Rather than focusing on moral lessons, Merrily We Go to Hell takes a clear-eyed look at the realities of love and loyalty. The result is a film that feels honest, complicated, and, at times, shockingly modern. Audiences were both scandalized and fascinated, while censors bristled at the film's unapologetic approach. Today, it remains a powerful reminder that pre-code Hollywood wasn't afraid to show life as it really is: imperfect, unpredictable, and rarely simple. 3 on a Match, 1932. Three on a Match weaves the lives of three women, played by Anne Dvorak, Joan Blondell, and Bette Davis, whose paths cross repeatedly from childhood into adulthood. While the film tackles addiction, crime, and social downfall, its most daring element is its portrayal of extramarital affairs and broken marriages as facts of life rather than dramatic scandals. Dvorak's character, Vivian, is married to a wealthy man but becomes bored and restless. Her search for excitement leads her into a passionate affair, which is depicted as thrilling and even sympathetic. The film doesn't dwell on her guilt. Instead, it focuses on the emotional complexity behind her choices. Even after the affair leads to personal ruin, Vivian is portrayed as a deeply human figure, not a cautionary tale. Audiences at the time were divided. Some saw the film as a warning, while others saw it as refreshingly honest about the pressures facing modern women. The movie's willingness to depict affairs as a natural outgrowth of dissatisfaction and longing was revolutionary. Today, Three on a Match stands as a testament to pre-code Hollywood's willingness to dig into the gray areas of human behavior, treating infidelity as one of many ways people try and fail to find happiness. A Free Soul, 1931. In A Free Soul, Norma Shearer stars as John Ash, a young woman caught between her conservative upbringing and her desire for freedom. The film opens with Jan leaving her fiancé for the more exciting and dangerous Ace Wilfong, played by Clark Gable. Their relationship is a whirlwind of glamour and risk, and the film pulls no punches in showing the thrill and heartbreak of stepping outside society's boundaries. Jan's father, a respected lawyer, is torn between protecting his daughter and upholding his own values. The movie doesn't punish John for her choices. Instead, it shows her struggling to find her place in a world that refuses to let women chart their own course. The affair is treated not as a shameful secret, but as a defining moment of self-discovery. Censors took issue with the film's lack of moral clarity, but audiences were captivated by Shearer's nuanced performance. A Free Soul asks viewers to sympathize with a woman who dares to seek happiness, even if it means breaking the rules. Its legacy is a reminder that sometimes the greatest courage comes from following your heart, no matter where it leads. Backstreet, 1932. Backstreet tells the story of Ray Schmidt, Irene Dunn, a woman who falls in love with a married man, played by John Bowles. Rather than sensationalizing the affair, the film presents it as a lifelong, bittersweet partnership, one marked by devotion, sacrifice, and heartbreak. Ray's acceptance of her role as the other woman is portrayed with compassion, making her one of the era's most tragic heroines. The film doesn't judge Ray or her lover. Instead, it invites the audience to feel the pain and longing of a love that can never be fully realized. Their affair isn't depicted as wicked, but as a consequence of missed opportunities and societal constraints. Dunn's performance is tender and restrained, capturing the quiet dignity of a woman who loves deeply, even if it means living in the shadows. Censors objected to the film's sympathetic portrayal of infidelity, but audiences responded to its emotional honesty. Backstreet was a box office hit and spawned several remakes, each less daring than the original. The film stands as a rare depiction of forbidden love that asks viewers not to judge, but to understand. The Painted Veil, 1934. Based on the novel by W. Somerset Maugham, The Painted Veil stars Greta Garbo as Katrine, a woman trapped in a loveless marriage who finds comfort in the arms of another man. The affair is presented as a search for meaning, fulfillment, and connection in a life that has become stifling. Garbo's portrayal is both vulnerable and determined. Instead of painting Katrin as a villain, the film explores her longing for genuine affection and her struggle with guilt. Her husband, rather than flying into a rage, responds with quiet resignation, and the film focuses on the emotional complexities that drive people to betray their vows. The Painted Veil doesn't offer easy answers or happy endings. Instead, it treats infidelity as part of the messy reality of life. Sometimes inevitable, sometimes regrettable, but always deeply human. Audiences were moved by Garbo's performance, and the film remains a subtle, mature exploration of love and longing outside the boundaries of marriage. The Secret Six, 1931. While The Secret Six is primarily remembered as a hard-hitting gangster movie, its treatment of relationships and moral ambiguity is pure pre-code. Jean Harlow and Wallace Beery star in a story where love affairs and the crossing of marital boundaries are depicted as an accepted part of life among the criminal elite. Harlow's character navigates a series of relationships with married men, her choices portrayed as understandable in a world where loyalty is fleeting and survival is paramount. The film doesn't punish her for these liaisons. Instead, it shows her as savvy, resourceful, and unashamed. The message is clear. In a society governed by power and desire, traditional rules don't always apply. Censors tried to rein in the film's subversive edge, but the story's energy and boldness made it a hit. The Secret Six treats infidelity as a given, challenging audiences to question their own judgments about right and wrong. The result is a film that feels as fresh and as scandalous as the day it premiered. Strange Interlude, 1932. Adapted from Eugene O'Neill's Pulitzer Prize-winning play, Strange Interlude is a complex tale of love, betrayal, and secrets. Norma Shearer stars as Nina, a woman whose marriage to a troubled man leads her into the arms of another. The film traces years of complicated relationships, with affairs woven into the fabric of daily life rather than being cast as shocking transgressions. What makes Strange Interlude remarkable is its refusal to condemn any of its characters. Nina's choices are presented with empathy, and the film delves into the motivations behind every decision: fear, loneliness, and a desire for happiness. The story's honesty about human weakness and longing was rare for its time and remains powerful today. Censors, predictably, were uncomfortable with the film's open treatment of affairs, but audiences appreciated its depth and realism. Strange Interlude suggests that infidelity isn't always about passion or rebellion. Sometimes it's about trying to find meaning in a world that offers few easy answers. Indiscreet, 1931. Indiscreet stars Gloria Swanson as Geraldine, a successful writer who falls for a man she later discovers is married. Rather than retreat in shame, Geraldine continues the relationship, wrestling with her conscience and the demands of her heart. The film treats the affair with a surprisingly light touch, focusing on Geraldine's emotional growth rather than her supposed moral failings. Swanson brings depth and humor to her role, portraying Geraldine as independent and modern. The affair is depicted as an opportunity for self-discovery, a chance to challenge social expectations and find out what truly matters. The film doesn't punish Geraldine or her lover. Instead, it ends with a sense of understanding and maturity. Audiences were drawn to the film's honesty, and critics praised its refusal to paint infidelity as either wholly wicked or wholly romantic. Indiscreet remains a thoughtful, nuanced look at relationships in a world where the old rules no longer apply. Dishonored, 1931. In Dishonored, Marlene Dietrich plays X-27, a spy whose tangled web of loyalties includes a series of forbidden relationships. Set against the backdrop of war and intrigue, the film treats affairs as both tools of survival and expressions of longing. Dietrich's performance is magnetic, turning X-27 into a symbol of resilience, sacrifice, and complexity. Rather than judge her, the film invites viewers to admire her courage and wit. Her affairs are not punishable offenses, but part of the complicated world she must navigate to complete her mission. Director Josef von Sternberg infuses every scene with ambiguity and allure, making infidelity seem almost noble in the pursuit of a greater cause. Censors bristled at the movie's nonchalance, but audiences couldn't look away. Dishonored stands as a testament to the unique freedom of pre-code Hollywood, a time when movies dared to suggest that love, loyalty, and betrayal are rarely simple and often intertwined. There you have it, 15 films that dared to show infidelity as just another part of life. For a brief, wild era, Hollywood made breaking the rules look thrilling, complicated, and very, very human. Which of these stories would shock you most if released today? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if you love discovering the wildest corners of film history, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Because sometimes, the movies that broke the rules are the ones we remember forever.